Well, welcome back to another episode of the Cruise Conversations podcast. I'm Frank.
And I'm Michael.
And today's episode is episode number 52, and we're doing our 1-year anniversary celebration episode. Let's jump into it.
Well, like Frank said at the top, today we're celebrating 1 year as a podcast.
Dude, pretty awesome day.
I know, super exciting, and we're going to jump. I mean, we have a lot going on today. We're talking about some favorite moments throughout the time. We have
Got some bloopers
at the end, so stick around for those. But, you know, we haven't done cruise news in a couple weeks because we've had some guests on the podcast. So, you know, we kind of just have a couple things to talk about. Two of the things are a little newer. Two of the things are a little older. But like we said, since we've had people on in the past couple weeks, we haven't been able to talk over some of these. So let's talk first, Frank. Utopia of the Seas officially delivered to Royal Caribbean.
It's pretty awesome. I'm getting really excited about my Utopia of the Seas sailing. So, I mean, basically they kind of took over the ship from the shipyard. So It's a big milestone. Now we're starting to see more on social media of behind the scenes, and they're starting to show, you know, some different things around the ship. So there's still a lot of things we don't know about the ship, right? What is the entertainment going to look like? We're still waiting on, you know, official menus from their new Royal Railway. We know that it's going to be a kind of Wild West theme, which is really cool, but we don't know really what the menu is going to look like, how much that restaurant's going to cost. So there's a lot of unknowns, but I think the big thing that we know about Utopia is that it's going to be this big kind of weekend. You know, it's going to be awesome for the weekend, right? You've got a ton of new restaurants or a ton of new bars and new restaurant ideas that have come to life. So you've got that 2-story Giovanni's that looks over the boardwalk, which I was showing my mom today. I'm like, we have to go and check that out.
Yeah.
Obviously, I really want to do the Royal Railway as well. It just kind of depends on price point and what. I'm excited to kind of hear what people think about it too, because I've seen some content around it, but there's still, like, again, if it's the menu and everything is kind of tailored more for kids, then it's not really going to be a spot that we want to check out. So kind of waiting on that one. But
yeah, and one thing I kind of just heard about the Royal Railway recently is the fact that it may be doing eventually 2 themes at a time, right? So one kind of, like you said, more tailored around kids and kind of the theme with that, and then kind of a more adventurous
like a romantic one maybe. Yeah,
so that'll be super neat, and just to see how they kind of grow on that over time, because the nice thing with that restaurant is they're not limiting themselves to really like one type of food, right? Because like you said, the different themes they're doing, like on the train windows per se, can connect to, like we said, different types of food around the world. So yeah, super cool. I can't wait to, I mean, what you said, you sail on this in August, right?
August. Yeah. Everyone mark your calendars. We have a big announcement coming, but for those that listen to the podcast and maybe don't follow on social media, mark your calendars for August 10th and make sure that you are subscribed on YouTube.
Yep.
That's the hint, and more to come on timing and what we're going to be doing. But yeah, make sure you have your calendar marked August 10th and make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. But yeah, I'm really excited about Utopia of the Seas. Like I said, tallest slide. I think MSC kind of took the title on their dry slide that they have on their ship. So Royal has now gone a little bit above on Utopia of the Seas, and they added some new features there. They've got the food truck on the pool deck, which is going to be really, I'm excited about that. Just a new venue. They added the Azumi to the park and brought back 150 mason jar. So there's a lot of things that they're kind of just expanding upon and taking some things from Icon and bringing that over. So
mason jar, that's what will get me back on that ship. I love a mason jar.
It's pretty awesome. So yeah, what do we have next?
Yeah, next piece of news. So Margaritaville at Sea Islander just set sail a couple days ago from Tampa. You know, the funny thing with this is my mom called me last week, and I guess my aunt was looking at, I mean, none of them know anything about this line, and kind of a lot of the bad press the first ship got, and like the world's worst cruise ship and all that. My mom was like, you know, your aunt's talking about this Margaritaville ship, and you know, we know we have the cruise booked for September. What do you think it would look like if, you know, we went on that? Like, it'd save us hundreds of dollars, yada yada. And I kind of just hit her with the news from the start. I'm like, Mom,
maybe don't just cancel your cruise. Maybe add this to the mix, but I wouldn't.
Well, what ended up being there the same day.
Okay.
And they were going to be down there in Florida. And I was like, you know, the food ain't the best. There's not as much entertainment. The ship is old. Just a bunch of stuff. Now, but then literally the next day I'm on TikTok and seeing everybody on the Islander. And this is the one she was talking about. Yeah. And what I will say about this is it does look like Margaritaville at Sea, like,
they're trying
more money into the ship, right? It looks nicer. There's more free food options around the ship. They're already promoting a couple of the shows that are on the ship online. So, I mean, I think this is like a wait and see type thing, right?
Yeah. It's not something that we'd be like, our clients call us, hey, what do you like? Let me book this. We're going to probably give a warning like, hey, just so you know, if you've not seen the reviews and seen something out there, like, here's what your because it's all about expectations, right? So if you go and expecting like a Carnival Royal, something that's like been around for, 10, like a ton of, many years, it's just going to look a lot different than that experience, but that doesn't mean it's a bad experience. It's just whatever you're expecting,
So, yeah, I mean, like we said, we'll see kind of how the reviews continue to come in on this ship. It had its preview sailing, and now it's sailing full-time, doing 4 and 5 night sailings from Tampa. So, also a little different from the 2 nights they were doing at their other random port. Next piece of news, Frank, Disney.
Yeah, Lookout K, private, okay, Lookout K. We're not necessarily going to... Port. Okay, we can call it private island. So, the whole thing with this is Disney's kind of... moving and opening up this new, what they're calling a private destination. It is attached to another kind of piece of land, which was the funny thing that I saw on TikTok, that someone actually came from the northern part of the island by boat, which was
family,
which was kind of scary. Like, it should be kind of protected. But regardless, the reviews of this island have been really good. I mean, the biggest thing that everyone's talking about is just how long that pier is.
The walk, yeah.
And there's no tram. Like, the tram is all the way at the end of the pier, and that's probably like a half mile is what people are saying, maybe a little bit less. But the nice thing with some of the other islands we've talked about is you get off the ship and the tram is right there, and so I think Disney is probably working on hopefully they're working on this, and everything else that we've heard about the island is it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Obviously, it's got all the Disney, features and flares. So, yeah, I mean, everything else is, everyone's talking about the food, and even the adults only area looks super nice. But the funniest thing is just seeing everyone's comments about how long this pier is, and you get your workout in. It's like the 5K before you, like when you get to the beach, it's like a 5K to get over there.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I think that they would probably do is at least add benches down this thing with shading coverings and all that, just for a start. Like, I don't know how wide it is, if it's possible to run some smaller. I mean, I think I've seen videos like some golf carts going up and down it.
A couple of them, yeah.
Yeah, maybe get more of those running. I don't know. But, yeah, looks like a cool new destination to go check out.
Last but not least, Mike, what do we have on Carnival?
Yeah, so Carnival announced kind of earlier this month, we've talked about Carnival Cruise Line and Carnival Corp, right? Carnival Corp owns Costa and P&O. Well, like we've seen last year and this year with them moving some of the Costa ships over to the Carnival brand, they're now doing this with P&O.
Okay.
So in the next, I think, 2 years, or maybe this is next year, they're taking 2 of the P&O ships that are actually sailing out of Australia right now, keeping them down there in Australia, but rebranding them for Carnival.
Interesting.
So the interesting thing here is they're going to have 4 ships now sailing in Australia. So I think they're really trying to, I think they like the Australian market, right?
Yeah.
I think they, out of most of the lines, kind of have, 4 ships would be a good amount down there. But also, I think what they kind of announced is they realize Carnival Cruise Line is their biggest brand, right? And they want to continue to open more just capacity fleet-wide, right?
Yeah.
And expand and move some of the ships around. So, yeah, I was reading another article. This is going to be 10 ships in 7 years now, and you consider the 4XL class they've done, the 2 Costa ships, the 2 P&O, and I forget what the Carnival Luminosa, what brand that came from. But, yeah,
that's a lot.
Like we've said, ever since the shutdown ended, the demand for cruising is really up there in all these lines. Many lines now are starting to announce kind of their next ships that they're coming out with in the next couple of years. So, yeah.
It's awesome. It's really cool. We're in the middle of a really awesome time. If you love cruise ship, like new cruise ships and features, and it's just really cool to see, this growth, honestly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that, but that's awesome. I'm excited to see how that progresses and the timeline and everything around that.
Yeah, well, and the one last thing with this, the interesting part is these ships are smaller too, right? They're hold just over 2,000.
Wow.
So it'll be interesting to see how many of the Carnival concepts they bring over to these ships being, small.
Small ships. Relatively small ships.
Smaller compared to some of the other newer ships they've been coming out with.
And they can use them for maybe some new ports and destinations and things like that. So that'll be really cool.
Yeah.
So, question of the day.
Yeah, it's back. It's been a couple weeks for this, too.
It's good to be back. For those that have been following along, we've had some really good interviews.
Yeah.
Check out the interviews. We'll talk a little bit about them later in the episode, but we had Jeremy come on to talk about his Bermuda cruise, which was really, really fun. And then we had Garrett and Jason come on and talk about their Greek cruise, which we kind of helped them over the last year, 6 months. helping them plan that out. And it was a fun journey, and actually hearing about it was really fun. So, but yeah, question of the day: how many countries has the podcast been listened in? So this is, I'm going to Canada, I listen, that counts Canada. If I go to Kenya, that counts Kenya. As long as I'm listening to the podcast in that country, let us know. We'll give you the answer at the bottom, but be thinking and guessing how many countries have listened to our podcast.
Yeah, and this one's kind of exciting because, kind of over the time throughout episodes, we've kind of talked about this number.
Yeah.
But we haven't looked, I haven't really looked at it in a while.
I'll just say it's a lot more countries than I've personally been to. I mean, and maybe more than I'll ever actually experience in my life.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's a lot of countries. So pretty awesome. And thank you for sharing this with everyone and continuing to listen. But hey, 1 year, dude.
We did it.
We did it. 1 year. I mean,
we're not done.
Are we done? Are we just No, we're not done.
We're not done.
But I wanted to just say thank you for, all of the editing. Michael's been doing all the editing of this podcast on a weekly basis, and it's a large lift. I mean, we are now on YouTube, which is really exciting that you get to come and hang out with us in the studio every week and actually watch the video of this podcast. But I know that's increased the workload, and sometimes it's, 10, 15 hours that you're putting into it a week, and I really appreciate that. Also, our wives for allowing us to do this every week, not just the time that you're editing, but the time that we're physically in person
together doing this.
Yeah, it's a big commitment, and sometimes we have to adjust plans and everything. So shout out to Tara, shout out to Scotty for being patient and supportive, and everyone that's listened and shared the podcast. Honestly, that's just we're super grateful, and we've got over 500 people that listen every single week in unique devices. So that's just, it's incredible. And we're just getting started. And
shout out to you too. All the, kind of overseeing the social media. I mean, if you're in our DMs, it's probably Frank most of the time, getting back to you super quick, working on the reels. And you tried Threads for
Threads. I don't know. Threads didn't really take off.
No. And then also, just look at this. This is you turned my old bedroom here into a little studio here.
Yeah,
so
we got a studio.
That's super cool. But even all the work you've done with our clients too. Appreciate all that.
I was gonna say we have over 100 clients. So we talked about on the podcast last year. We announced that we're travel agents, and almost 100 individual clients that we've booked cruises for, which is just, who would have thought that these two guys from Charlotte, North Carolina can stir up that kind of,
Not I.
Yeah, no.
That was never the original plan either. It's that's kind of when we get into one of my favorite moments coming up here shortly, kind of all intertwined. So I'm not going to jump the gun just yet, but like we said, we really started this podcast to keep the cruise conversations going throughout the week.
Yep.
Me and you always talking cruises, and we kind of joked around the idea of a podcast for a little while.
Yeah, we did.
And then we're finally like, let's just do it. And we bought these mics. We figured out how to hook it up the GarageBand.
We've grown a lot, and that's the funny thing when you look at the bloopers. Like we have, that was some of those are very early on, and we've come a long way. But at least you'll be able to laugh about them with us because there's been some funny moments that no one else has gotten the chance to see. So I'm excited about that. But to your point, it's grown so much.
Yeah.
I think we also need to shout out the guests that we've had on.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of guests.
I know. I was typing up this list. I was like, it's more people than I thought we've had on.
We had Teller come on.
Yeah.
We had Teller come on.
His first cruise.
Go check that one out.
Marina, the Carnival Sunshine, little murder cruise, murder mystery cruise.
We had Chris come on after my birthday cruise. He had a really good episode out there. That was fun.
Yep. We had Blake come on and talk about his trip over to Ireland. It was kind of the first episode we did that wasn't. We compared kind of vacationing in Ireland versus kind of doing a cruise over there and what they would look like. But like we said, he did more of a land-based, so it's kind of our first episode on that.
The Cruising Bear.
Man, not once.
Not twice.
But 3 times he's come on this podcast.
I think he's got to come on again. We love him. We really enjoy having him on. He kind of feels like my cruising papa now, I feel like we talk about cruising throughout the week, and that's sometimes it's just in DMs like, hey, did you see this? And we really enjoyed him. Hopefully you guys enjoyed having him on the podcast as well.
Yeah. We had Megan come on.
Yeah.
Best episode.
Still
to this day.
Shout out Megan.
Yeah. Comparing Royal Caribbean to Celebrity. So, like we said, best episode. So shout out to you, Megan.
We had my mom, Mary, come on and talk about Wonder of the Seas. That was pretty fun.
Yeah. We got more episodes lined up with her in the future.
Yeah,
so
we do.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
She's, sailed icon. We're kind of
sailed
waiting.
Celebrity.
We got a lot of content from her coming out. Jeremy,
the
other Jeremy, the Canadian Barbecue Mafia.
Yes.
Come on and talk, like Frank said earlier, about his Bermuda cruise, which, like I said, makes me want to go to Bermuda. It's not far from the NC coast. We're not that far.
No, we're not
away,
that far. I mean,
we got to travel further probably to get to the cruise port.
We could probably just take a jet ski out. No, probably not. The last one, recently we had Jason and Garrett come on and talk about their cruise in Greece, which was, again, it was an awesome episode. So go check that one out. But with that, thank you to all of our guests that have come on. It's been so fun. And if you haven't listened to those episodes, go check them out. They're all out there on Spotify, Apple, and now YouTube. Yeah. So before we get into our favorite moments of the podcast and our episodes that we've enjoyed, we wanted to get some feedback from the listeners, right? Like, this is all about you guys. We want to hear what you're enjoying. So we put on Instagram, let us know what's been your favorite moment. And we got some pretty good responses. Some people actually voted for themselves. We're not going to mention those folks, but we do have a good amount of people that responded. So we'll go through a couple of those. And so Jeremy was on the podcast. He said some of his favorite things about this podcast, obviously passion for cruising, and he really enjoys the honest reviews. And he really specifically called out the Bachelor Cruise episode. So if you haven't listened to that one and you liked Jeremy's episode and think he is
has a good taste in episodes.
Yeah, he has a good taste. Then go check out the Bachelor Cruise episode.
No, that one was real fun to record.
That was so fun.
Just overall, the preview episode we did on it, the one where we recorded on the ship. We'll get there at some point in this episode. Next, we have Blake. Blake pointed at, this is Blake that was on the podcast.
Yep.
So, like I said, he responded, said the Coco K, most recent Coco K episode, kind of gave him tips about playing an upcoming cruise.
Okay.
That's exciting, Blake. And mentioned Chris's story when he was on the podcast about getting lost in the Bahamas.
Okay, we weren't lost, Chris. I'm just gonna say maybe we had a plan.
Chris probably just couldn't see the ship in the
distance. The dead animal in the sidewalk definitely had us do a little roundabout on that one. So if you missed that, go check out Chris's episode.
Yep. And then he also mentioned the Icon of the Seas episode we did a while back and another bachelor party cruise episode. So.
Okay. It's interesting to hear our loyal fans what they think.
Yeah.
We had the Piper G. Said, I really enjoyed the Med Cruise episodes. That's a bucket list for me, and the info was super helpful. So thank you so much, the Piper G. We also really enjoyed it. I mean, it's like every time we talk about it, we're like, we don't know how much more value, because there's a lot of episodes out there. We're like, we don't know how much more we can add to the series. I think we may have...
Without getting too repetitive.
Yeah, we don't want to get too repetitive. So it's good to hear that you have enjoyed them, and we've highlighted some of the differences between cruising in the Caribbean and cruising in the Med. So
Yep. And lastly, we got Lana, who shouted out her favorite episode was your special episode featuring Megan Christopher.
Yeah.
Which, like we said, was our top episode, so make sure to go back and give that a listen if you haven't yet.
Never would I have thought that was going to be our biggest one.
Yeah, episode 32. Go check it out.
Yeah. Cool, Michael. Let's talk some of our favorite moments. We'll just kind of go round robin. Give us one of your favorite moments that you had on the podcast so far.
Yeah, so one of my favorite kind of just memories or moments on the podcast over the last year. We have a tradition when we bring on new guests, they talk over their travel philosophy.
Yeah.
So like we said, we've had almost close to 10 people on this podcast now, and it's kind of cool hearing how people's travel philosophy differentiates, right? And like I said, I think it's just a nice little tradition we started.
We didn't really mean to start it. I think we just did it once, and we're like, oh, we should
do whatever. Yeah,
we never really formally talked
each time.
Yeah, we never formally talked about it, but we just did it.
No, so if you don't know what we're talking about, here's an example of the Cruising Bear talking about his travel philosophy.
Travel it's a whole different experience. Like my very first cruise, I was unsure, didn't know if I would like it. I was a little worried about open water. I hear the same things from people now, that open water, I'm not my fan. I was like, once you get on board, it's not what you think. You're in a floating hotel. And so we got on board, and 3 minutes in, I was in love. I was like, this is what I do now. I cruise now.
No, I love that tradition. I think it's definitely something that we're going to keep going unless we get feedback that we need to pivot or have other questions that we need to ask. I think we can build on it a little bit. So maybe we'll think about ways to do that. But for me, one of my favorite moments, Michael, was having my mom on the podcast.
Aww.
Dude, I mean, I thought it was just so fun. I really enjoyed it. She was she really just gave a different perspective that I think that you and I could give. She's a bougie traveler. She travels in a lot of junior suites. And so where we are in our life, we are booking more interiors and ocean views. And so she was able to come on and give that perspective. And yeah, hopefully we get some more of that perspective here real soon from her recent cruises. But yeah, check out this video from the interview with Mom on Wonder of the Seas.
Personally love Coastal Kitchen. If you get a junior suite, that is the minimum suite that allows you to actually have dinner at Coastal Kitchen. So a grand suite and above, you have unlimited opportunity to go to Coastal Kitchen throughout your cruise.
Yeah, that was super cool having your mom on the podcast, Frank. Like you said, she brings a lot of insight.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I can't wait to, but we were recording a couple weeks ago and we called her just to kind of tell me some initial thoughts on Icon.
Yeah.
And man, we talked about a lot in a short period of time. So like I said, I'm excited to have her on the podcast again in the future to talk that. One of my next favorite moments or episodes from the last year was, our first mini-series. We called it Cruising the Med.
Yeah.
Like we said, we have 3 episodes out right now. And I think overall, the thing I really enjoyed about this series, and I think you kind of said the same thing, it helped us kind of relive these trips, right?
Yeah.
I think both of us would say it's probably one of the best trips we've both taken overall.
Definitely.
And it's fun just to talk about. Like we said, we don't want to get too repetitive with it because I've only been over there once. You've been over twice, right?
But
once for
a cruise.
Yeah. And like I said, it's been fun just to relive those trips. Like you said, having Jason and Garrett on last week to talk about their Greek Isle cruise, which I know you really
awesome.
connected to.
Yeah, really, really enjoyed. Just again, I did a very similar itinerary, so really enjoyed just connecting with them and hearing about their cruise and their stops and what they decided to do. So that was a fun one.
Check out this clip from that episode.
Thessaloniki was really cool. So my instructor, the guy that I've been taking my lessons from, he lives an hour from Thessaloniki. And so I asked him, I said, hey, we're going to be here. I don't know if you can make it, but, we'd love to, I'd love to see you. I'd love to run into you. And, if you're not busy. So we actually got off the boat and he drove from his town, which is called Kozani, about an hour away. And he actually came and met us in Thessaloniki. And he literally was just our tour guide for the entire day.
I feel like this next one for me, when we started this podcast, I think this was one that we both had in the back of our minds that we were going to be doing for a while. And
yeah,
that was the Royal Debate. So that was episode 28. So if you go back a ways, this one was where we actually compared Carnival and Royal. And, it's a big debate out there. I feel like every blog you click on, people are asking, Norwegian versus Carnival versus Royal. Those are kind of the 3 main cruise lines out there. And so we did do a very detailed kind of analysis walking through the different categories. It wasn't really much of a debate in quotes, but it really was, fun to kind of talk about your favorite cruise line and my favorite cruise line and kind of go head to head and make, somewhat of a, hey, this is what wins that specific category. So if you are interested in that, go check out episode 28.
We have to check out Norwegian someday, Frank, and
I know.
do a comparison of the 3 because
we do.
Like we said, neither one of us have sailed that yet. My last kind of just favorite moment overall of the podcast, like we said at the start, is kind of really just seeing the growth of the podcast overall, right? Like we said at the start, when we first recorded the first couple episodes, we were recording multiple times.
Yeah.
We kind of talk for 20 minutes, finish, and then kind of start listening and be like, nah.
There were episodes we threw away.
Yeah. Like we said, we just completely started over and... So kind of just, like I said, seeing the growth from that, going from getting pretty solid episodes recorded to now trying the YouTube thing and videos. Because, we were like, well, we're recording videos for reels and all that anyways. Why not set up a couple extra cameras? And the first couple weeks we posted just to Spotify and then rolled out YouTube. So I think that's one of the things I'm most excited for this coming year now is kind of just the growth around YouTube as well. And hopefully kind of getting a new audience. So if you listen from YouTube, shout out to y'all.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, make sure like the video, subscribe on YouTube.
Hit us with a comment. Yeah.
And if you haven't seen us on YouTube yet, check out this quick video talking about our channel. Well, hey, welcome to the Cruise Conversations Podcast YouTube channel.
Hey, we're finally here on YouTube, Michael. We made it.
I know. I'm Michael.
I'm Frank.
And hey, we've been a podcast for about a year now.
releasing weekly episodes to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, really anywhere you listen to your podcasts. We really wanted to bring more cruise content to you this year.
That's right. So we're obviously going to be bringing the weekly video from this studio to you on YouTube. But in addition to that, we're also going to be bringing additional content from cruises that we've been on, whether that's behind the scenes, going live on YouTube. We're also going to be bringing some cruise news. So if that's an interest to you, make sure you click the subscribe button at the top.
Yep, and click the bell to be notified when we post new videos.
And just stay tuned for more cruise content coming your way. We kind of talked about this moment earlier as well, but man, the bachelor party was awesome. Anytime that we get to go on a cruise together, I love cruising with my wife. I love cruising with my friends, but cruising with someone else that just loves cruising as much as I do, and I know it was a special moment. And, you know, we really got to do a preview episode. We got to do kind of the ending with, we're on the ship. We recorded that as we were on board the ship, which was first time we've ever done that. And we kind of tested it out. And yeah, it was just a really fun trip and really fun just kind of talking about it. And it's actually led us to actually booking other bachelor parties and helping out with other bachelor parties that are planning on going on cruises. So that was a really awesome time. Yeah. And I look forward to just, continuing to help with other bachelor parties just from the experience that we've had on board Freedom of the Seas there. But if you are interested in listening to that episode, go check it out, episode 38, and check out this quick clip that we had from recording in the stateroom.
I didn't know what to expect, but we just walked right off the ship. It was easy. Walked to the...
Yeah, like you said, bachelor party was a blast. I think we all had a blast. But like you said, we're excited, and not even just bachelorette parties too. I mean, if you're a bachelorette party going on a cruise soon, hit us up. We'd love to work with y'all too. There's no audio blooper before we get into the blooper reels from this episode, but the physical blooper was me walking all the way to the other side of the ship to go record this with you, and I realized I didn't have my laptop. I had to walk all the way back and get it, and probably wasted 20 minutes, but
yeah, thanks for that.
We got back to partying
highlight of my bachelor party was that moment. No, it was awesome. We really enjoyed that cruise. So now we're gonna go through a little bit of a blooper section. We kind of talked about this at the top, but we've come a long way. It's actually kind of funny to listen to some of these. You sent it over earlier today, and I was just like, man, it was pretty hilarious. Just like Michael said, we had to throw away episodes. Sometimes we would start recording. So if you hear us just laughing, typically we say something stupid and then we start laughing and then we have to edit that out. But no, it's been a really fun journey. Just we've gotten a little bit better, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say so.
We want to play a couple of those bloopers for you guys.
All right, Frank, no better place to start with bloopers than right from the start. We typically, our intro's pretty standard each week, right? We keep it pretty much the same, but some weeks we're a little excited to jump into the intro, right? Take a listen.
Welcome to the Cruise Conversations podcast. My name is Frank.
No. My name is Frank. Go real loud there, Frank.
Yeah, and sometimes we get a little distracted when we're making these episodes, or we start or stop talking a little too early. So take a listen to this.
Oh Lord.
First of all, we want to jump in and just say thank you again to all. Dude, what are you doing over there? You're rattling papers.
When you say rattling papers, Frank, I think the first couple episodes, my notes were legit on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And I think I was just playing around with it there. Sorry.
It's all right. I forgive you.
And the next little distraction. We actually just noticed today we've hit 17 different countries now, which has been super neat to see. Some of them have been Germany, the Netherlands.
Why are you supposed to do 3, bro? I think you were supposed to list out more than you did.
There's the story with this one is there was another blooper before it too, right? And I listed 3, and then I went to you, and you kind of just messed up. So then when we re-recorded it, I just said 2 places, and then kind of just looked at you as just sitting here, and you were like, "No, you're supposed to say 3."
Well, it's more than 17 for our question of the day. So there you go, little hint.
That's true. Other times, Frank, we just straight stumble our words.
Is there a way to check it on your phone, or do you have to walk up there?
Yeah, I don't think it's on the app yet, but they have signs out next to each stand that has what they're serving for the day. But like I said, So
with that, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. Again, we'd love to hear from you on social media at Cruise Conversations. And we look forward to being back here next week And thanks for following along. We'll see you again. Happy next Wednesday.
You know, sometimes one of the hardest parts of us to record is the outro each week.
There's
I
just
don't
so
know
much.
why.
There's so much to say. We have so much
yeah.
to tell you guys, and it's just an outro. You know, it's just quick.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes Michael also just forgets to turn his do not disturb off, and all of his group messages start dinging. So here's an example of that.
Like you said, sometimes it may not be like the most popular with a bunch of people, but if you have a good experience and you have good servers and good wait staff, it can really help elevate the experience too.
Yeah. And there's another one. I mean, I think we're talking during this part, but you know what? It's fine.
Yeah.
We just redo the section whenever that happens. We just have to pick it up and just retake. But I think we figured it out. Go on, do not disturb when you're recording.
This next one, you know, one of us is more of a night person than the other. You like your sleep.
I do.
There have been a couple times we've recorded a little later at night than usual, just because, like we said, schedule is super busy. This one, I think, was just the lateness getting to your head here, right?
But think of this just as a beach day. It's absolutely gorgeous scenery. Like you're in the mountains.
A beach in the mountains. And then you finish here.
So you're not in the mountains, but I say you're in the mountains, but you're not in the mountains. This is what happens when you get me at 9 p.m. My brain doesn't.
You go, man, it's 9 p.m. My brain don't function. Other times, Frank, you know, like we said, we haven't sailed every line out there.
No.
So we don't know all the venue names for all the lines, right? This one's pretty funny because like we've talked about version in the past, it is kind of edgy. Let's just say we forgot the name of the ice cream place. Take a listen.
So just a bunch of different options on there. I think they've got was it like Lick Me Ice Cream was one of the...
Lick me till I cream, I think.
Are you serious? It's Lick Me Till I Scream, right? I don't know what it is. This one's for adult audiences now.
Lick me till ice cream.
Yeah.
Ice cream. Not what I said.
Not till I cream. All right, we got to mark this episode as for adults.
Lastly, you know, we've brought guests on the podcast, and they're not perfect either. I mean, they stumble up on their words or stuff. We're going to hear from Chris and your mom here.
All right, let's hear it.
Yeah. We went shopping and everything, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, 150 was the original specialty restaurant on board Enchantment, and the earlier what did I say?
It was
What
not.
did you mean, chops?
Edit. The options on the menu and quality, definitely chops.
Flip 1 Central or 150 and chops both times.
I know.
I'm cracking myself up. Definitely 150. Okay, wait. Where do I go back to, Michael? Okay, let me start over. Oh, that was hilarious.
That's okay. We do it all the time.
We have to have a bloopers. That would be funny.
Oh, I do. I got a blooper reel.
There
I
we
constantly
go.
add
We
the-
did it. We did it.
We did it. There's our bloopers from a year. There was more than that. Those are just some of the best ones.
If you guys hated that, let us know. If you loved it, let us know so we know, hey, let's keep them for next year.
Yeah, I'm about to say. I mean,
Give us
we have
feedback.
we have a year. So
We have a year. We can collect some more. There's so many funny moments. Those are just a few, honestly.
like we said, hey, I mean, we're a year in. We're not slowing down now, Frank. We got a lot planned for this year. Like we said, you got your sailings on Icon and Utopia.
Yeah, Icon
overseas
and 2 Utopias this year.
that you're super excited about. I'm going on-
Margaritaville.
Possibly. You
Okay.
know, I was talking to my wife. The new ship's out of Tampa, and there's some cheaper travel agent rates right now. My parents have a place right down there. I'm like, if I can get a flight to kind of work out, maybe I'll go check it out.
But you
Give us another
definitely
line to
have
talk about.
MSC.
Definitely got MSC
Okay.
Seashore later this year out of Orlando. Super excited for that. I mean, we'll probably do a little kind of preview-ish episode talking about kind of things I'm interested in seeing.
We haven't
on the
talked
ship.
about MSC
We really
at all on this
haven't, yeah.
podcast.
And
so
there's some things that already I'm already excited to see their private island doing the overnight there.
it's gonna be
and-
so sick.
Yeah, the island looks super serene, peaceful. They do a nighttime party on the island.
Yep.
So super excited for that. And we're just kind of super excited to continue to bring content this year on the podcast,
Yep.
but also YouTube. Eventually
Yes.
doing more videos on YouTube, Frank.
Yeah, we're looking into some different things. Like I said, August 10th, make sure that you're following us you're subscribed on YouTube. mark your calendars. You don't want to miss that day. I'm just going to go ahead and just say it right now. It's going to be pretty awesome. I don't want to give too much. We're going to give more information on social media and stuff, but I for those that are listening, this is your early notice on that. But before we wrap up, we do have the question of the week answer. A lot of countries. We are listened to in a lot of countries. It's more than 50.
I think last time we gave an update, it was about 50.
Yeah. Now we are officially at, drumroll, 64.
64, yeah.
64 countries. That's a lot. I probably won't see 64. I don't know. Maybe we will. I'm looking at a map. That's just a lot of spots on the map. We got to go. Yeah, there's a map right here. That's a lot of countries and I mean, we'd have to really go west to be able to hit some of those. I'm thinking Southeast Asia. Check a couple of those boxes, but yeah, shout out to our international audience. Thank you so much, specifically Canada, the UK,
Australia,
Ireland, Australia. Thank you so much for listening and following along. We really, really appreciate you and your support. And we really enjoyed this episode. This was fun. This was more of a casual one. We haven't had the chance just to talk in a long time. So we've had a lot of interviews going on over the last couple of weeks. We noticed you guys really enjoy those. So we're going to continue bringing more interviews your way in the coming weeks. We got a lot of great things planned for the summer. With that, if you want to book a cruise, we'd love to help you with that. So you can text us at 704-313-8556. Just let us know what you're looking at. We'll make sure you get the best price and onboard credit.
And like we said, as we continue to push out this content this year, make sure you're following us on Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, YouTube.
Yeah.
Really everything we're on. Like this video if you're one of our watchers on YouTube and subscribe to the channel there. It's really going to help with the growth of the podcast.
Yes.
And also leave us a rating on Spotify and Apple Music. We haven't said that in a while. The good ratings also kind of help the growth of the podcast as well.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. This was a fun one. Really enjoyed it. And we look forward to being back here next Wednesday.